Good morning, everyone. The webinar will begin in just a few minutes. While waiting, I do encourage you to download the handout that's available under the Handouts tab on the control panel. Amy will be referring to it often during the presentation. While we wait for the webinar to begin, we do have Amy Salapsky on the line with us. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Patrick.
Quick question for you. With many organizations continuing to work remotely, what are some of the challenges that these organizations are facing when conducting onboarding remotely?
Yeah, they're running into a lot of challenges. If organizations did not have a good structured onboarding program when we worked in person, it's gotten doubly hard to convert it over to remote. The biggest challenge is if you have your new hires starting remotely, is that sense of connection. They're not physically together with people in the office, and it can be very lonely and intimidating to try and meet new people. So with virtual onboarding, you actually have to touch base more frequently than you would with an in-person onboarding because they're getting the natural interaction when they're in the office. But virtually, you really have to check in a lot, see how people are doing, and really be intentional about helping to introduce them, connect them, and build those virtual relationships with people. You think about it, since the COVID pandemic, organizations have gone fully virtual. Some of them have gone fully virtual. You have people out there that have never physically been in the same room with any of their colleagues. So it takes longer to build those relationships, and your onboarding program can help accelerate that. Another big challenge that people face is just with the technology and the aptitude. So we've been dealing with working virtually for a year and a half now, and people have gotten much more comfortable with it, but there are so many platforms available. So, for example, say that the person that you're onboarding, their previous organization used Microsoft Teams for all of their virtual connection. They're fully proficient, but they join your organization and you guys are now using Google Meet. It's a whole new platform they have to learn. They have some basic skills with using virtual platforms, but it's just different. So you have to approach every new hire individually with where they're at in terms of the technology and provide them access to the support to help them learn, get their equipment set up, and get online to connect with all of these different programs that you put together for onboarding. So I would say those are probably two of the biggest challenges with virtual onboarding.
Yeah, I really didn't think about the whole socialization aspect of this. That's a great point. So I would think a lot of companies maybe have virtual happy hours or virtual lunch meetings or something, maybe to introduce the new hires to their coworkers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to give you a specific example, my husband started a job in the middle of the pandemic with a new company, and the culture of the organization he has joined, nobody uses their webcams on virtual meetings. So not only has he not met these people in person, doesn't even know what they look like because he's never seen them on camera other than his boss. And that is a gap in his organization's onboarding process where they aren't doing something to at least give a face that goes with the name of the person he's interacting with. So it's taken him a little bit longer to build those relationships and to really connect with these people because it's on this, blank screen where he's just talking about work things, but he's not getting to know people on a personal level, which is a huge part of engaging people in your organization. They're not just there to work; they're there to relate to others. So helping them, learn more about each other and connect on a personal level, it's really going to increase the level of commitment, connection to your organization.
Right, right. Okay, well, we are right at 11 o'clock. Excuse me. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Virtual Onboarding, How to Build Engaging New Hire Experiences in a Virtual World. Since we want to continue to deliver these informational webinars for you and practice social distancing, I will be presenting from my office and presenter Amy Salapsky will be presenting from her office. My name is Patrick Allen. You want to flip the screen there, Amy? There you go. You can go to the next one. There you go. My name is Patrick Allen, and I'm the program manager for Kent State Center for Corporate and Professional Development's public open enrollment programs. Our center specializes in providing employee development for partnering organizations in Northeast Ohio and around the world. We offer training as both public open enrollment programs, currently being delivered live and virtually via Zoom, and we'll start offering some in-person programs starting this fall. But we also do customized programs that can be delivered live and virtually or at your location. I am joined today by Kent State facilitator Amy Salapsky. I will be serving as your host, and Amy will be our presenter for today. Amy has over 25 years of experience specializing in organizational and talent development. She consults with clients and facilitates training programs on topics such as leadership development, employee onboarding, change management, high potential development, employee engagement, and women in leadership. Using accelerated learning principles, she develops and delivers highly interactive programs where the learner has opportunities to practice new behaviors in a safe environment and develop confidence for applying those new behaviors on the job. This approach to learning accelerates the on-the-job application and speed to proficiency, which in turn accelerates your business results. Everyone in attendance today has been muted to avoid the background noise from any of the nearly 100 registered participants. We do encourage you to ask questions at any point during the hour. You can submit your questions in writing to me using the questions tab on the control panel on the right side of your screen. I will present your questions to Amy as time permits throughout the hour. There is a handout available to you that summarizes today's presentation. It's located under the handouts tab on the control panel. We do encourage you to download it as Amy will be referring to it often during today's presentation. We are recording today's webinar, and you will receive an email next week with a link to the recording after we conclude our time together. And now I'd like to introduce Amy Salapsky.
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. We're on the homeward stretch here for the week, the work week. Before we jump into the content, I'd love to learn just a little bit more about your current state of virtual onboarding. So a fun way to do this is just through images. So as you look at your screen, I have 9 images on there and each with a number on them. You can go ahead and put a note in your chat with the number that best reflects and represents your onboarding and just a couple words that explain why you selected that number. And Patrick will see those and he'll share with me what he has seen coming in with it. And with this visual slide, one of the reasons I like to use this is a type of activity you can use in your virtual onboarding program. So pick, any random images that you want, and you can really have any question. We could change this question on day 1 with a new hire. Which one best describes how you're feeling about your first day on the job? And it just starts getting that dialogue connecting and get people engaged in your program. So Patrick, have any responses come in yet?
Yeah, we have a couple of number ones that they are kind of scared to start their new virtual onboarding program. A couple of number 3s that they're crossing their fingers that it'll work out well. One number 4 that they're continuing to grow and nurture their program. And that's about it for now.
Okay, very good. So let me just start off by saying, no matter where you're at, it's okay. It's taken a lot for people to flip and convert to working in a virtual world with that. Wherever you're at, you have room to grow and take your program to the next level. So part of this webinar will give you a few tips and tricks to get you started on that process. And I'm sure you're aware we do deliver a full program about this. And the design for my program is you actually build part of your virtual onboarding program while you're in training. So it's very much a hands-on type of program that you walk away with things that you can actually put into place and start using right away to get you there. So what is onboarding? People throw this term around a lot, and it can mean different things to different people just based on where your orientation is within the organization. So I thought I'd start by just kind of level setting when I'm referring to onboarding, what I mean when I say that. So we'll talk about the purpose, when it starts, and how long it lasts. Onboarding has 3 objectives, 3 main purposes, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, the objectives are the same. First and foremost, you're looking to help people feel comfortable in their new environment. It's new, it's different. They're coming in with a whole range of emotions about starting that new job. And you just want them to be able to relax and be themselves and bring those best talents, the reasons you hired them, bring them forward. If they're not feeling comfortable, you're not going to see the greatest of their talents that they have to offer. Next, you want to gain their commitment to the organization. onboarding is crucial, and there's been a lot of studies that have shown a correlation between effective onboarding and retention of those employees. You see a much higher turnover rate in scenarios where the person's onboarding program was ineffective. They tend to not build that commitment with the organization, and they're more likely to leave and go to a different organization. And after everything you've spent to find those people, especially in today's talent market, you want to be able to retain them. So onboarding is a crucial part of that retention strategy. And third, you want them to start producing and actually help them start producing as soon as possible into the process with their onboarding. That's why you hired them, is you need to get some work done. But they're not going to be able to start producing if they're not feeling comfortable and if not feeling a commitment to the organization. So these objectives all really work together with onboarding. In terms of when does it start and how does it last, I drew this nice little visual here of a road, and I refer to it as a new hire journey, and it has multiple stages. Stage one, onboarding actually starts before the employee starts. So I actually refer to this as pre-boarding. And this is the time from when that candidate says, yes, I want to come work for your company, and they accept the offer, to the first day on the job. They're going through the background check process, they're getting everything cleared, you're getting the equipment set up for them. There's a lot of activity going on there that's important to pay attention to and incorporate in your onboarding program. Stage two is that first day on the job. So it's literally day one on the job. What are you doing to get them up and running, help them feel comfortable, and start to be part of the organization? Stage three is I refer to as week one. It's really essentially the second day through the fifth day on the job. And this is under an assumption that you're starting people on Monday. If you're starting people on a Wednesday, that's perfectly fine. It's just, the rest of that week that you have them working. Stage four is the first month on the job. So this one, just to keep it simple, I say month one, but it's really from that second week through the rest of the month, through the total of 4 weeks on that. And then stage five is month two, and stage six is month three. So onboarding starts from the moment that new hire accepts their job all the way through the first 90 days, the first 3 months on the job. So I'm curious, I have a question for you. What is the highest stage of your company's onboarding process? So Patrick, if you can go ahead and launch the poll, and let's see where people are at. And when I've done this in my full training program, I see people all over the board, but typically I see people clustered more at stage 1 through 3. Not many people really have full, robust 3-month onboarding programs, but it's an opportunity to grow. So kind of curious with the people on the call of where you guys are at and how far along you are with your onboarding process.
Okay, the votes are still coming in, so I'll give you a few more seconds before I close it.
Okay.
Okay, about 5 more seconds.
Got the countdown running, guys.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay, so it looks like there's a tie between stage 3 and 4 at
Oh, great.
33%. And then day 1 at 17%. And then stage 5 or 6 at 8%, and stage 1 at 3%.
Okay. Well, congratulations to the people on the call. It sounds like a lot of you are getting all the way through the first month of having activities in place. I would say that's probably above the typical norm of what I see when I have people coming to my full classroom program. So great to see you guys already have some good structure in place with your programs. So we're going to do a little activity here, and I do have this. I forgot to reference the handout. On the handout, I do have the full new hire journey mapped out for you. And then if you look at page 2 on the handout, we do have the scenario for you. So I'd like you to think through, and I'm going to read the scenario for you. That here's Helen, and she's accepted a new job, and I just made something up. She's a financial analyst at ABC Company, and she's starting 2 weeks after completing her drug screen and background check. And for the first time in her career, this is going to be a 100% work from home job for her. So when you're building your onboarding program, it's critical that you think about putting yourself in the shoes of that new hire and what are they going through. So think about, what do you think Helen is feeling at this stage of her journey? And go ahead and just throw like one word in chat of that might describe how you think she might be feeling. starting first time, 100% remote, work from home, at a new company, doing a new job? If you were Helen, what would you be feeling?
Okay, getting anxious, butterflies, nervous, apprehensive, anxious again,
All right. Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, the emotional range of a new hire can be anything from positive emotions like excited and can't wait to start to some of the more negative emotions, just that confidence and anxiousness of don't know what to expect. Sometimes you may have people going through, oh my gosh, they hired me, now what? They're not confident in their ability to actually do the job. They kind of go through a bit of an imposter syndrome feeling with it. As you think about your new hires, you also need to think about what do they need in context of those emotions to help them feel good about starting the new job. And then when it comes to virtual onboarding, you think about, well, how can you meet those needs in a virtual way? So I'll show you some of the things that I've come up with. And this list by no means is completely comprehensive. These are just some ideas to get you started. And feel free to capture a few notes on your handout there. So you guys already mentioned things like excited. I put scared, anxious, as well as in there. Curious. I've also heard of people that kind of have a bit of buyer's remorse. And that may come in situations where they have multiple job offers and they've accepted this one and they start thinking, did I accept the right offer? Those are super critical to engage, because if they're feeling like that and their onboarding experience is not positive, they can pick up the phone and call the person that gave them the other offer and say, hey, you know what? I think I made the wrong decision. Is that position still available for me? And they could quickly hop. So really got to watch on those. And then of course, pride may be coming out. If you've done a really good job during your interview process to help, give them a sense of the culture, they're going to have a lot of pride about the new company and really, pride that they have been selected to work with the new company. What do they need to help with these emotions? Well, very clear instructions, particularly during pre-boarding. There's typically a lot that goes on during pre-boarding where, okay, you got to fill out all these forms and get them back. You have to go for your background check. We need you to sign off on some things. So if you want direct deposits, give us that information. There's just a lot of paperwork that happens during pre-boarding, and it can be confusing. So giving them the clear instructions about what they need to work on and when it needs to be done is going to help them feel more confident about making sure they've checked all the boxes to meet the needs there. They also need to start feeling like they're being welcomed and they have a sense of belonging. Before they even start, they need to start feeling this connection. They also are going to be curious about what to expect on the first day, particularly if your first day is at home in your office. I don't know what to expect. And I've spoken with the people that, they're sitting at home on the Friday before Monday start and they haven't even received any computer equipment. Like, what do I do on my first day? I don't even have my laptop to log into any type of orientation webinar. So they need to understand when things are going to arrive and what they can expect with that. And then when they do get the computer equipment, I actually spoke with a gentleman who was an IT professional, and he got his computer box and he couldn't figure out how to set some things up and get connected to the network. So if an IT professional is struggling with that, think about your average Joe that may not be a huge technology nerd that, isn't good at doing these types of things. So very clear instructions of what they need to do to get everything set up and connected. They'll be curious about their benefits. If they need to opt into benefits, they're going to want to know, what are my options and when can I enroll in them? And they're going to be curious about who they're working with. So they need to start informally meeting some of the people. Now, some of these things in here, I do want to do a little bit of a disclaimer. You have to be careful when you're working with an hourly associate compared to a salaried associate. With hourly associates, anytime you're asking them to do anything that looks like work, they need to be on the clock and paid for it. So, always consult with your legal team for hourly associates about what they are comfortable having you do prior to the first day with your new hires. And then in terms of virtual approaches, well, email, the obvious one, you just gotta be careful about not doing too much email and overwhelming things. So sometimes it's great to just go old school and put things in an envelope and actually mail it, do the snail mail, and give them a package of information at home that's easier for them to sort through. Other creative ways, if you can send them videos, it creates a much more personable approach to thing. Phone calls, having the manager pick up and call the the new hire and talk about how excited that they are that they're starting, and even set some of the expectations about what's going to happen during the first day. And you can do either just phone, or you can turn the camera on and do the video call with it. If you have access to any type of onboarding portal, that is a great tool where you can help organize all those things. So it's one link that they go in, and all their stuff is organized for them in there for them to know what they're doing. If you aren't quite that, tech, you don't have that type of software available to you, that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned checklist. That is just as effective at helping people understand what it is that you need them to complete prior to the first day and what to expect with that. So just think about why I asked what she's feeling and what her needs are during the pre-boarding stage. If you think about those things, that helps you identify what you need to do in your onboarding program. So here's some best practices to talk about your onboarding. And this is just, we're still in pre-boarding here, guys. We haven't even gotten to the full first 90 days here. Well, you want to do things that are welcoming. If you think about some ideas, what ideas do you have for creating a welcoming environment during pre-boarding? Go ahead and throw a few notes for us into the chat, and let's just see what you guys have to say. And then, of course, I will share some of my thoughts for you. I hear a lot of really great, interesting ideas as I do this class for companies that they're doing the full program class with it. And what's really interesting about doing that is when I have a diverse group of companies represented on my training programs, they learn as much from each other as they do from me, because somebody has some super creative thing that they're doing, and others in the class are taking notes going, oh, that's great, I'm going to do that, and I'm also adding it to my list of ideas to share with people in future classes here. So that's why I like to get people involved and sharing a few notes on their thoughts before I just share the content with it. So Patrick, do you have any ideas coming in?
A meet and greet call from their manager.
Nice.
One-on-one meetings with their peers. Well, this one's kind of cool. Sending lunch to them via an online food provider.
Nice.
Yeah. Mailing a greeting card from the whole team.
Very good.
And that's all I have right now.
Yeah, those are fantastic ideas. See, it's great when I ask other people thoughts of what they can do with that. So I had on my list call from the manager as well, but I love that you included actually having the team members, their peer group, call them as well. The thing I have on the top of my list, I just refer to it as a welcome package. And this is, of course, they're going to get their computer equipment. But what if you either put in the same box with the computer equipment, or you sent them a separate box and you included some of your company swag? Give them the coffee mug and the pen and the notepad, or whatever, t-shirts, whatever you have. Give them something with a company name on. It kind of builds that sense of pride, like, I work here. I got my Kent State gear. I'm so excited about it, whatever it may be. You can also include useful, helpful things for them. Think about that whole home office setup. Maybe it'd be nice to go ahead and give them a headset that they can use when they're on video calls in part of their welcome package. Maybe there's something you can put in there that just helps them with stress relief, because it's stressful working from home. So here's some calming tea for you to help you through the stressful days. You can get creative with the fun things you can put into your welcome package. Another thought on here, it's kind of similar to the peer call. I refer to it as team member spotlights. And the way I've seen this implemented is you send out a survey to the members on the team, and you ask them, let's say, like 20 questions. And the questions vary from, the business stuff, like how many years have you worked here? What's your role? What's your favorite thing about the company? Those types of things. But you also ask some things to get to know them as a person. What's the best vacation you ever had? Tell me about your family. What's your favorite hobby? You can ask them some of those. And then you take that survey data and you kind of build it into this nice, visually appealing spotlight that summarizes, hey, let's meet Patrick and let's learn a little bit about Patrick. And you can send those spotlights either in the welcome package, or you can drip it out in an email every day prior to them starting. Okay, today we're going to have you meet Patrick. Tomorrow we're going to have you meet Amy. And it helps giving them a sense of who it is they're going to be working with. And it creates an opportunity for them to build a relationship. So if they receive a team member spotlight and they see, like, for example, on mine, my favorite vacation I've ever taken was a trip to Costa Rica. If they've always wanted to go to Costa Rica, when they actually meet me, they're going to say, tell me more about Costa Rica. And now we're building that bond. We're building a relationship, and they're starting to feel connected to the team. So it's a great way. And these don't have to just all be in pre-boarding. You can also continue these throughout, like, the first week as well. If you have an onboarding buddy program, that is a fantastic way to give your new hire a safe resource to ask all the dumb questions. So sometimes people are concerned about asking their manager too many questions. Part of it could be, oh, they're busy. I don't want to take up too much of their time. Part of it could be, I don't want to reveal that I don't know these things. So if you have an onboarding buddy, it gives them that place where they can go and just ask questions, and they know the person is assigned to take time out of their day to help orient them to the organization. And it also creates a peer level relationship that they're starting to build. And then the last one I have on here is a video welcome message. And this can take many different formats. It can be just a straight pop open, a Zoom meeting, record a quick welcome message and send it off. Or you could use something like a tool that compiles a bunch of welcome messages, and a couple of them that are out there, like Tribute, Viday. I think there's one called Montage, and these tools are technically designed to celebrate, like, milestone birthdays and things like that. I participated just personally with some of these, where you set up an account and the account sends a link out to everybody you want to participate with some instructions to say, hey, could you please go in and just use your phone, just record a quick 30-second, 1-minute video to introduce yourself. And the portal will compile all those videos together, and it'll make one video that goes from person to person and connects all of those different videos in there. And you can put soundtracks on it and whatnot. But it's a great way to get, again, that personal connection and meet the team before you actually are meeting the team, so they can start saying a few things to welcome them. And a best practice with doing this is to give each individual some different questions you want them to answer on it. So it's not just like, hi, I'm Amy, glad to meet you. Hi, I'm Patrick, glad to meet you. It's more like, hi, I'm Amy. My favorite thing about working here is the people. By far, they're the best people. And then Patrick's going, hi, I'm Patrick, and what I'm most excited about in the coming year. So you give them different things to say, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting of a video. So lots of ideas for welcoming. There's so many things you can do in this space. This is just something to get you started with it. The next best practice is on a structured program. There's a lot going on during the pre-boarding phase. So the more that you can create checklists, the better organized you're going to be and make sure all the stuff gets done. And when I say checklists, I'm referring to the administrative side of it. So all of your employees are involved in onboarding. Okay, my talent acquisition group, you guys are going to kick off all of the paperwork that the new hire needs to sign. Okay, my hiring manager, here are the things we need you to do. Once you receive the email that your new hire is cleared background, I want you to pick up the phone and call them and tell them about this. Okay, my IT people, here's the stuff I need you to do. So you organize all that back end administration to make sure everybody's doing what they need to be doing when they need to do it. And then you also create a checklist for your new hire so that they know what they need to do. And just the process of going through and creating this checklist helps you get much more organized, coordinated, and also figure out who is doing what and who are your backups. So if somebody is off on vacation, who can back that person up to make sure that your onboarding process is consistent for every single person that you hire. Particularly helpful with the hiring managers who aren't necessarily onboarding people every single week. So it could be a year between the time that they onboard somebody new. So it's a quick way to bring them up to speed of, here's what you need to do. You don't have to think about it. Here's your checklist. Go do it. Another piece of structured is a communication plan, thinking through who is communicating what to whom. Your internal administrative communications, like an email may need to be triggered to IT to say, okay, go ahead and ship the equipment, we're clear to go, to the communication to the new hire and what they're receiving. So who is sending what and when, and getting that organized. And then also think about your 90-day onboarding goals. What is it that that new hire needs to be able to do at different milestones? And I usually do this, by the end of 30 days, here's what we expect. By the end of 60 days, here's what we expect. And by the end of 90 days. And that creates a nice roadmap for that new hire. and takes a little bit of weight off of them. Hey, by the end of the 30 days, I just need you to have met these different people and collaborate on a project. I'm not expecting you to be this huge producer that's delivering results because you're still learning. By the end of 60 days, I want you to be, to start being more involved in taking the lead on a project. By the end of 90 days, I want you to be able to do something autonomously and not necessarily have to lean on other people. And it just helps them understand, oh, okay, I have time to ramp up to this and keep them on a path of where they need to be performing. Under accessible, IT equipment is so critical with virtual onboarding. If the new hire doesn't have their equipment by their first day, what do? It's nothing more disengaging than starting your day one and not having the equipment you need to even start. So a best practice is make sure that it's shipped with the target arrival date is 3 days before they start. That gives you a little bit of wiggle room if there's a delay with shipping for whatever reason, that you still have a little wiggle room before it gets to the person. And then another best practice is to really schedule those IT resources to be able to assist with the virtual setup. It's great if they have, the instructions that they put in there that are written down, or maybe a link to a video to watch how to do it. But it's even better if you have a human being dedicated to help this person get set up. And the best practice I've seen is where they actually personally identify an individual. Okay, Patrick, you're starting on Monday. I'd like you to meet Amy. She is your dedicated IT support system during your first week. And Amy's going to help you with everything. Now Patrick's like, wow, got my own person. Isn't that cool? And then Amy, I end up calling Patrick, maybe as the equipment arrives, hey, I just want to check with you. Your equipment should have arrived by now. Have you received it? Great. Okay, I want you to go ahead and open up the box, follow the instructions. I'm going to call you back tomorrow and see what challenges you've run into, what time is good for you, and just kind of walks them through the process and continues to check in with them. Because depending on the role, sometimes the IT setup can be a little bit more complex. So having that person call in and say, okay, what have you found? Oh, you don't have access to this folder. All right, let me go through the process and get you access. Oh, you still need this software. All right, let me go and get that for you. So by the end of the first week, their system is running smoothly, they're feeling supported, and then at that point you can transition them to, all right, we're done with the first week, it looks like you're set and ready to go. Going forward now, here is our 1-800 helpline, or here's our online tool to submit help tickets. That's going to be your resource going forward for any more support you need. So it's just a temporary assignment, but it helps them feel incredibly welcomed and supported during the first week. And then the final piece is the accountability. And what I recommend here is a racy chart. And some of you are probably sitting there going, okay, Amy, what's this language you're speaking? What the heck is racy? I've never heard of it. Well, let me tell you what racy is. So racy is an acronym that stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And it's a tool that's used a lot when you're doing project management, particularly in IT projects. You see this a lot. It's a way to really be clear about the roles, who's involved, and what they're supposed to be doing. So we'll just look on this screen, we'll look at the welcome package line. So when it comes to the welcome package, the L&D, Learning Development Department, Onboarding Buddy, and HR Business Partner, HRBP, those three people have a responsibility here. And that could be they all need to contribute contents that go into the welcome package. So they need to gather the information and get it someplace to whoever's building the package. And maybe one of them is taking the action of actually assembling the package and getting it into the mail. The hiring manager is listed as accountable. So that means he or she needs to make sure the work gets done. So they might be reaching out to the people that are responsible and saying, hey, my person's ready to start. Can you go ahead and assemble the welcome package and let me know when it goes out? And if they aren't hearing anything, they may follow up and say, hey, has the package gone out? I want to make sure my new hire gets it. So they're making sure it gets done. They don't necessarily have to be doing any of it themselves. Consulted just means they're in the loop. They're consulted to see if there's anything else needed. So in this case, it might be you're consulting with IT to say, hey, we're putting together the welcome package. When is the computer equipment shipping? Can we just compile it all into one package, or should we do two? So it could be as simple as that. And then informed is you're keeping in the loop. It's just kind of like the CC on an email. So recruiting, they just would be copied on all these email chains to know, okay, things are in progress, the new hire's being taken care of, we're good to go. And when you build these RACY charts, you can have people that are both responsible and accountable. So let's say the hiring manager also needs to contribute something to the package. I would just put both an A and an R in that box, and they would have those two responsibilities. The best practice is to only make one person accountable, because if more than one person's accountable, nobody's accountable, because they're all looking to the other person thinking that they're following up on it. So when we do the full class, I actually do a full activity with this, and I have people put together their RACY chart. And this is one area where I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about, wow, this really helped me figure out who needs to be involved and what they're doing, and get buy-in from all the groups to streamline our processes to make sure that we're being consistent with how we approach onboarding. So as we think about this, we just have a 1-hour webinar today. There's 90 days worth of things going on in onboarding. We don't have time to go through all of them, but just in general, what does a new hire need at each stage? So if you think about day one, go ahead and throw some notes in chat about what do you think a new hire needs on day one. And this could be, virtual or in person. The needs really aren't that different between virtual and in person on this. So Patrick, do we have any chats coming in?
Yes. Overview of who is responsible for what and who to go to for what. Primary contacts, equipment, schedule, a start and stop time, and where to go.
Yes, excellent. Yeah.
And then again, computer equipment, employee manual, more about organizational chart and who to go to,
Yeah.
support. So yeah.
Yeah, all excellent examples. And I love the one about what time you're starting, where you're going, those types of things. It may sound like a super basic thing to do, but I've actually worked with organizations that they kind of forgot that part. And they had the new hires saying, I actually had a scenario where the new hire showed up at the wrong place, because all of the communications were coming out of the corporate office and they were actually working out of a field office. And it just wasn't clear to them where to start. And of course, it's a very flustering first day. This was when it was in person, but it was a flustering first day to drive and be on time for your brand new job, and then realize you're in the wrong location and now you're showing up late. It just, it got them off to a very, very rough start. So just basic stuff, logistics about what they're doing. I, for myself, just summarize it in a big bucket. They need to feel welcomed and have that general orientation about really what to expect and what's going on. As we move into week one, the things that you really want to focus on during that first week is around that connection and cultural assimilation. So day one may just be much more tactical, with all the nuts and bolts about, where do you go, who do you start, here's the org chart, stuff like that. When you get into the first week, that's where you really start teaching about your company and what it is. So you start bringing out things like the core values, the history of the company, a lot of great stuff on that. You get them starting to meet some people in the organization. And with the meet and greets, the strategy I recommend is start with the closest inner circle and work your way out. So start the meet and greets with the immediate team that they're going to be working with on a daily basis. And once you've gotten through that, then span out, okay, what's the next level? Who might they be, potentially supporting in their job or working with a little bit more intermittently? And this could carry on. It's not just week one. This could carry on through the full 3 months where they're meeting different people. And then, okay, who are some people outside their own department that are just good to know as resources? Who is a leader that we want to get them exposed to, because maybe the work they're doing is supporting what this leader is responsible for. So just thinking about how to set up those meet and greets, and also give them some sort of, I don't want to say script, but guidelines about how to manage those meet and greets, because not everyone's going to be comfortable just introducing themselves to people. So maybe give them a list of a few questions or things that they need to learn as a result of the meet and greet. And that may be different depending on who they're meeting. So it may be, we're meeting someone outside the department. I want you to understand what that department does and how our department interacts with that department. And so that gives them some context for it. When they first start during that first week, it's really great to get those meet and greets just set up for them and just kind of take that burden off of them and set expectations. But eventually you want to transition them to be autonomous with setting them up for themselves. So give them a list of names of who they want to meet. Here's the things we want you to learn with it. Now you reach out, introduce yourself, and invite people to hop on a call with you and do the meet and greet with it. During the first month, this is where you really want to give them direction and performance expectations. So they're starting to get comfortable with the organization, they're starting to meet a few people. Okay, what are we going to be doing during these next couple of weeks on the job, and what is expected of me? So it's really a great time to spend some time going back through that job description with them. They've signed off on it during pre-boarding, but now it's time to really talk through, okay, here's what we really expect this role to do, and maybe here are some phases of when the work typically happens. And right now, we're during, let's say, the person is working in HR. Hey, right now we're getting ready to ramp up our employee engagement survey. So one of her first projects is going to be helping us get that set up and executed with that. And I'm going to have you partner with, Bob over here, who is an expert, and he's going to walk you through how to do it. And then set the expectations. By the end of 90 days, here's what I expect your performance to look like. And don't worry, you're going to be supported. We're going to give you guidance on it, but this is what we're working towards, so that they understand that. During month 2, they really need to feel support and a sense of contribution. So we want to start kind of weaning them off having a lot of hand holding and just have those support resources available for them to ask questions, but let them start doing a little bit of work on their own so that they feel like, okay, I'm starting to earn my paycheck here. I'm starting to do some work. I'm not as much of a burden on this organization because I'm able to contribute a little bit more on my own. But don't pull the support away right away. Still give them that open gate to get to their support resources to help them answer the questions and give them some guidance on what to do. So if you think about month one, your check-ins with them are going to be much more frequent. Month 2, you're going to back off a little bit on check-ins, and maybe you go to a once a week check-in versus a multiple times a week check-in with them. And then month 3, they should be able to do some things on their own and feel that sense of autonomy and receive feedback to know how they're doing. And it's usually that feedback piece that I see a lot of organizations kind of forget about. When somebody is new at a job, it's really important to them to know, how am I doing? And a lot of people don't feel comfortable asking that question. So being proactive and sharing the feedback as they go, hey, you are right on track with what we expect you to be able to contribute, or wow, you're blowing our socks off. You're learning stuff so quickly. I can see that you're going to be fantastic at doing this role because you're just picking things up so quickly. Hey, here's what I'm hearing from the people that you're interacting with. I'm hearing that you're proactive with your communication. You are very approachable and easy to work with, whatever it may be. Give them that very clear and specific feedback about what they're doing well, and also opportunities where they still need to grow and develop and learn to get better at their job. And have a good conversation about how you're going to support them to help them grow and learn about their job. So as I mentioned, my full training program, we go into a lot more depth in all of these, and it is highly interactive. We spend a lot of time going into breakout rooms and working on things. I have like worksheets that people work through, and by the time people leave that program, they actually have a basic structure put together and some tools that they can put in place right away to start building their onboarding program from whatever stage they need to build it. Everyone enters with a different level of onboarding in place, so you can just enhance what you have and take it to the next level there. So with that, I would like to turn it over and see if any questions have been coming in. So Patrick, what questions have we seen?
Okay. Has the length of recommended onboarding changed with the remote work environment?
Oh, that is an excellent question. I would say the recommendation has always been at least 90 days, even with in-person onboarding. In terms of companies that truly do that, though, that has probably been more the exception versus the rule. And I would say the exception for certain roles. Like you may have, let's just give an example. A lot of times sales roles, sales invests a lot in getting their people up to speed and running because, hey, they've got to get out there and sell. So a lot of times the sales onboarding programs are pretty well developed and structured and just, a lot of great things in there. Whereas your finance person might just only get the day one. Regardless of role, 90 days is always a best practice at a minimum. Now, if you want to take it to the exceptional practice, going up to a first year experience and really looking at your onboarding as that full first year, that just takes it to a whole other level. You don't have to be as hands-on after that first 90 days, but you still are very intentional about engaging, getting the commitment, getting that sense of being able to produce during the whole first year. So long answer to the question, I would say that no, virtual world has not extended the recommended timeline. I think what's truly happened there is people are recognizing that they've had a gap in their onboarding and they're trying to enhance it and beef it up more.
Okay. Many people feel that HR is solely responsible for onboarding. Who is responsible for onboarding?
Oh, I just love this question. This is an absolutely brilliant question. Yes, this is the challenge of onboarding. It is, you have to, in your organization, identify who is accountable. So if you remember, let me take you back to my RACY chart in general. So sorry, all these transition. So ideally, you need to pick one organization, group of people that are accountable for onboarding, and they're the ones that make sure it happen. But when it comes to responsible, it is a team effort across multiple departments and multiple functions. And when we do my classroom training, we actually talk through all the different roles that have something to do in onboarding. And we spend actually the first half of the program is just talking through all those roles and what they need to be doing, and then figuring out, building our RACY chart of who needs to do what. And that is one of the biggest challenges with onboarding because there are so many people involved with it. If an organization doesn't identify the accountable party, things just don't happen and they fall apart because everyone's like, I'm assuming that the nature of this question is coming from everybody's looking to HR to be responsible for onboarding, but hiring manager, you need to be involved too. You start getting that finger pointing behavior with it. Whereas if you really identify who all needs to be involved in onboarding and build out your RACY chart, a lot of that internal conflict and turmoil goes away because everyone's on the same page. And the way you get to that is you brainstorm initially who needs to be involved, and then you bring representatives of those players together and you have conversations and you collaborate and come to alignment on who is going to be doing what and when. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, next question. How do you get buy-in from leadership to invest time and resources in onboarding activities?
Yes, there is a lot of data out there. And again, in my full program, I provide some of the data about the return on investment with onboarding, building the business case for it. Because if you think about your leaders, a lot of their orientation is around we want to increase sales, we want to reduce costs, we want to beat our competitors. It's called being in business for a reason. We're here to make money and to grow the business. There's data that shows that if you invest in onboarding, it supports those organizational goals. It increases your commitment of your new hires, so they're producing at a higher level. It improves retention rates. So there's a huge cost when you have turnover of, you got to go out and find a new person to fill the role. You got to onboard them again, get them up to speed. And there's also the time when that position's not filled where there's a cost with that. So the longer you can keep people in your organization, the less cost you're going to have. So, huge impact on retention and then just overall engagement and longevity of employees with it. So, yeah, there is a bunch of data out there that's you can put in front of your leaders when you're getting pushback to say, there's definitely a return on investment of doing these resources. And there's multiple studies from multiple sources that have told us this. It's not just me making it up. Here, let me show you the data. And when you speak the language of business, they tend to start listening to you.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I think
Okay.
you kind of touched on it, but how do you measure the effectiveness of an onboarding program?
Very good. So there's multiple ways you can measure it. Uh, a baseline way that you should always be doing is you should survey your new hires. Get their feedback and find out what's working well for them, where they felt they had gaps, and their ideas for improvement. And what's great about surveying your new hires is it's probably not their first experience joining a company unless you're hiring fresh out of college. But if you have anybody that has worked multiple jobs, they have things to compare to. So they may be giving you some great insight into, wow, this onboarding program is phenomenal. I wish I had this at my previous 3 jobs. So it tells you, okay, we are, above the bar in terms of what they're doing. Or, I like things at my last job. Here's something they did that was very effective for me. They've just given you a new idea of something that you can consider incorporating in it. And you can survey at different points. It's great to do an initial survey like at the end of their first week. And don't make it super long. Make it easy for them to put a little bit of time into. At that point, you're going to ask about just their entire process with the interview process as well as the onboarding process and gather some feedback. Then do another survey somewhere around the first 30 to 45 days. Check in with them again. And then do a third survey at the end of 90 days. And because they're going to have different thoughts and feedback as they go through the program. So, having a few points where you're checking in with them to get the feedback is going to help. In addition to surveying the new hire, it's a best practice to also survey the hiring manager because they are going to be looking at onboarding from another lens of getting my employee on into the organization and starting to produce. So with the hiring manager, I would say probably only first 90 days. You don't need to do any sooner than that. And that will help, get some insight from them on where their expectations are at and whether the onboarding is getting people ramped up pretty quickly. The caveat here is you do have some hiring managers out there that have completely unrealistic expectations of when a person should be able to perform. When you get the data from them, it gives you the opportunity to circle back and help level set the expectations of, what, we're not going to be able to get this person on day 2 to do 100% of their job perfectly, unless it's, if you're talking about some sort of labor job, put this widget in this box and tape it up. That doesn't take long to train to do. But if it's, some sort of more complex job, like you need to be able to sell this thing and know everything about this product, it's going to take longer for people to learn that. So it helps you set some of those expectations. Other measurements that I've already kind of talked to and alluded to is take a look at your turnover rates and break it down by how, when are people turning over. So look at it in different buckets. How many people are turning over within the first 90 days? How many turning over within 6 months? How many within a year? How many within 2 years? And you'll start to see patterns with that of where you have your highest spikes of turnover. And if you're not getting turnover within your first year, if that number is pretty low, that's a good indication that your onboarding program and your hiring criteria as well are effective. I typically only look at that as voluntary turnover, which means that they have chosen to resign. I don't look at terminations as much just because that may not be a reflection of your onboarding. That could be you've made a bad hiring decision and that shouldn't weigh into how you do your onboarding. That's more data for your hiring criteria with it. But people that are choosing to resign within the first year, that is a reflection of onboarding that you can go back and look at and see how can we improve. And then also look at your engagement scores. If you're doing employee engagement surveys, typically those surveys include a question or you have the data on how long they've worked with the company. Look particularly within that first year and see what the level of engagement. That should be your highest level engagement across the company, because if you think about it, they're in the honeymoon phase at that point. So if that group is not engaged, there's something going on that's worth looking into.
Great, thanks, Amy.
Sure.
Well, that does conclude our time together. We would like to thank you for attending and encourage you to register now for Amy's full program, which will be delivered on Tuesdays, September 28th and October 5th. The program will be delivered live via Zoom and is open for registration at the website on your screen. All of our fall 2021 programs are scheduled and open for registration. To learn more about these and all of our programs, I encourage you to contact us at 330-672 888-888-3416 or at your training partner at kent.edu. We can bring all of our programs to your organizations virtually or in person and tailor them to fit your needs. You can join our extensive list of clients and bring Kent State to your organization. We also encourage you to register for our next webinar on Friday, October 16th, 2021, when we will be discussing effective business writing techniques with Kent State facilitator Brian Harrell. During this webinar, we will learn to analyze the purpose of any workplace message, apply the process of organizing, drafting, revising, and editing to workplace messages, effectively incorporate visual elements, including graphics and data tables, and discuss grammar, punctuation, and formatting. Registration for this webinar will open soon. For those attending live, you will be asked to complete a short survey. Please complete this survey so that we can be assured that we are bringing you the most usable and relevant content possible. You will also receive a follow-up email early next week with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. On behalf of Kent State Center for Corporate and Professional Development and our presenter, Amy Solapsky, thank you for attending today and have a great weekend.